I asked myself a question: how would a truly meaningful semantic text editor in SharePoint look? Today I want to show you my case study. Because the most important design assets on the web is how we treat the content of our pages, and this is how typography in SharePoint looks right now. This is how typography could look like in SharePoint. On this page I only use my semantic rich text editor. The first block is a heading 1, and the small text case study above it is what designers call an eyebrow. Below, the next semantic rich text editor is set as a regular paragraph, but defined as a lead paragraph. That means it uses a larger font size than the rest of the body text. The very same web part can also be configured as a heading 2. For pull quotes, we get multiple layout options, and you can add a citation as well, including an optional link. For every paragraph you can control the browser handles line wrapping for pretty, balanced or auto. You can also configure how many columns the paragraph should span. And last but not least, it works both in zoned layouts and in flexible layouts. When you want to bring content from another document into SharePoint, here is how an example Word document might look. Now let's bring the content over to SharePoint. This is what happens when I directly copy the Word content into SharePoint. It kept almost all of the existing formatting. On the right side, you can see my semantic rich text editor web part. All the Word markup has been cleaned up, but the important elements like hyperlinks are preserved. We can see it's automatically set to open in a new tab. That should be the default behavior for accessibility for external links. But that's not all. If Copilot gives you a Markdown document like this, you want to bring it into SharePoint, my rich text editor can handle that too. It even includes basic syntax highlighting for now. And this is how the published version of the page looks like. The typographic layout you see here follows the rules of an editorial design. You can see drop caps in the first letter of the paragraph and how the different font sizes are arranged in this design. The way this is configured is simple. I store an rte-config.json file in the site assets library. This file contains responsive type scales that lets us adjust the font size to the current screen width. It also includes responsive spacing adjustments. In the block defaults, we can define how the different blocks of the rich text editor should look. These are just the basic configuration options you get out of the box, but there is more. The sanitizer lets you define which HTML elements are allowed in the rich text editor, and of course, we have some defaults, like the default block type that is used when the web part is first added to the page. Let's apply another typographic design to SharePoint, known as compact design or major second. First, override the current rte-config.json. Then change the font to a different font package. Return to the page and refresh it. The layout appears more compact and the drop caps have been removed. All the content elements follow the new typographic scale. Let me show you a third typographic design again. This time using a layout known as dramatic or perfect fifth. As before, copying and replacing the configuration files applies the new settings. We first switched the font package that better suits this design, then before refreshing the page we confirm the new font choice. After the refresh, heading 1 appears as a dramatic hero element, giving the entire page a new visual flow. Even though the text is huge on desktop, the responsive typographic scale seamlessly adjusts the text size without any media breakpoints or media queries. The semantic rich text editor also integrates all approved SharePoint brand center colors to ensure that SharePoint stays brand compliant across the internet. These brand center colors can be used for both text and background colors. Next to the color picker, the editor checks color contrast in real time. It validates against WCAG 2.1 requirements and the proposed WCAG 3.0 guidelines, known as the Advanced Perceptual Contrast Algorithm, or short APCA. Beyond the typographic layout, visual effects can also be applied to the fonts. All configurations are stored in the RTEFX config.json file. The first effects section defines the effects for all individual block types. It allows videos, images, and gradients to be displayed inside the letters, for example. You can also add effects such as shadows, outlines, or drop caps, as we have seen before. The effects options define the type and behavior for each effect. After we save the file and refresh the page, we can see the effect in action. The level 1 heading is now filled with a looping video. The level 2 heading have a static background image inside the text, and here a gradient is applied directly to the font. These custom CSS properties works well for applications and customizations, but for editorial content in SharePoint, options are limited and custom fonts can behave unpredictably. For example, bold text may appear lighter than expected. And because SharePoint loads fonts via JavaScript with generated internal names, it breaks how HTML and CSS are meant to handle fonts. To improve how SharePoint handles fonts, I built an application customizer. On first load, it reads the full brand center configuration and analyzes each font file for its actual capabilities. That's what you see labeled as font binary in the diagram. The results are stored in a browser's built-in database, and the core engine uses the stored data to generate semantically correct font definitions that includes all their real capabilities. Based on the current SharePoint font configuration, it also adds CSS custom properties into the page. The semantic rich text editor then uses these properties. When the brand center configuration changes, the application customizer detects the update and refreshes the cache. This is where the brand font cache lives. You see here the fonts, packages, and the site configuration. With great typography, you bring your intranet to life, having an amazing place to consume your company's content. And because every typographic decision lives in the config, not in the author's toolbar, brand governance is built in. You saw what happens when you paste from Word. The stock editor keeps the mess. The SymanticRTE enforces the brand. That's not a feature, that's a contract.